The Legend of the Pineapple. Once in a small hut surrounded by green hills lived a mother named Rosa and her only daughter, Pina. Rosa worked from sunrise to sunset, sweeping the floor, washing clothes, and cooking meals. Pina, however, was very lazy. Whenever Rosa asked for help, Pina had the same excuse. "I can't find it." "Pina, where is the broom?" Rosa would ask. "I don't know, mother. I looked everywhere, but I can't see it." Pina would shout without even getting up from her mat. One afternoon, Rosa fell sick with a heavy fever. She called out weakly from her bed, "Pina, my dear, please cook rice for me. The wooden ladle is in the kitchen." Pina stomped into the kitchen, grumbling. Instead of searching, she stood in the center of the room and whined, "Mother, I can't find the ladder. It's gone. I've looked with both my eyes, and it's just not here." Rosa, exhausted and frustrated by her daughter's selfishness, sighed a heavy prayer. "Oh, Pina, I wish you had 1,000 eyes so you could finally see what is right in front of you." The kitchen was silent. No more grumbling, no more stomping. When Rosa finally felt well enough to get out of bed, Pina was nowhere to be found. Rosa searched the village. She asked the neighbors and looked by the river, but Pina had vanished. A few weeks later, while Rosa was weeding her garden, she noticed a peculiar plant growing exactly where she had last heard Pina's voice. It had long, sharp leaves like swords, and in the center sat a strange golden fruit. As the fruit ripened, Rosa gasped. It was covered in dozens of small brown circles that looked exactly like countless staring eyes. Rosa wept as she remembered her frustrated wish. She realized that the earth had taken her words to heart. Her daughter was gone, but in her place was a fruit that would never have trouble finding anything again. Rosa named the fruit Pina. She tended to the plant with love, and soon the golden fruit spread across the islands. To this day, pineapple reminds everyone that it is better to use your own 2 eyes to help others than to have 1,000 eyes and see nothing at all. The Monkey and the Turtle. One sunny morning by the river, a clever turtle and a mischievous monkey met. They noticed a beautiful banana plant floating down the river and pulled it onto the shore together. "Let's share it so we can each grow our own food," said the monkey. But being greedy, she pointed to the leaf top of the plant. "I'll take the top. It's closer to the sun, so it will grow faster." The patient turtle agreed to take the bottom part, the trunk with tangled roots. Both went home and planted their pieces. The monkey waited eagerly for fruit, but without roots her plant quickly withered. Meanwhile the turtle's trunk sent out new shoots and soon grew into a strong tree heavy with ripe yellow bananas. One day the monkey visited the turtle. Seeing the fruit, his mouth watered. "Oh, friend turtle, your tree is wonderful, but you are too short to reach the bananas. Let me climb it for you, and I'll hand them down." The turtle agreed, but once the monkey reached the top, he began stuffing his face with bananas, laughing at the turtle below. "Ha ha ha! These are so sweet!" The monkey teased, throwing only the empty peels down. The turtle was quiet, but he was not helpless. While the monkey was busy eating, the turtle gathered sharp thorns and pointed sticks from the bushes. He carefully hid them all around the trunk of the tree. "I'm going for a nap now," the turtle called out as he crawled away into the tall grass. When the monkey finally finished eating, he tried to jump down. "Ouch! Ow! Oh, help!" he cried as the thorns pricked his feet. Furious and limping, he searched for the turtle and finally found him by the river. "You tricked me!" the monkey screamed, grabbing the turtle. "I'm going to punish you! Should I chop you into 1,000 pieces with my knife, or throw you into the deep rushing river?" The turtle saw his chance and pretended to be scared. "Please, monkey, cut me into pieces. I would love to become many little turtles. But whatever you do, please don't throw me into the water. I'm so afraid of drowning." The monkey laughed triumphantly. "Ha ha ha! Then into the water you go!" With all her strength, she threw the turtle into the middle of the river. For a moment he sank, then his head popped up above the surface. The turtle began to swim gracefully, waving a fin at the furious monkey on the shore. "Thank you, monkey," he called. "Didn't you know that water is my home?" Once again, the wise and calm turtle had predicted the monkey's greedy behavior, as she always wanted quick results instead of patience and good judgment. The story of rain and thunders. Long, long ago, before there were islands or seas, the world was quiet and empty. High above the nothingness lived Tunkut Langit, the great sky ruler. He was strong and serious, and he worked every day to bring order to the vast space around him. One day he met Aluncina, a gentle and mysterious goddess. She loved beauty, peace, and calm moments. Her presence made the sky feel warmer and brighter. Tunkun Langit asked Aluncina to stay with him in the sky, and she agreed. Together they shared a home above the clouds. Tunkun Langit worked tirelessly, shaping the sky and guarding the world below, while Aluncina stayed at home, filling their space with quiet joy. But as the time passed, Tunkut Langit grew busy and worried. He was afraid that something might disturb the peace of the sky. He began to watch Aluncina closely, asking her many questions. "Why are you always alone? Why do you sit quietly and dream?" Aluncina felt sad. She had done nothing wrong, yet she felt mistrusted. Her gentle heart grew heavy. One day, without anger and without noise, Aluncina disappeared. She left no message, no footsteps, and no trace, only silence. When Tunkut Langit returned and found Aluncina gone, his heart broke. He searched everywhere, across the sky, through the winds, and beyond the clouds, but she was nowhere to be found. As he cried out her name, his tears fell from the sky. Those tears became rain. When his sadness turned into anger and regret, his voice boomed across the heavens. That sound became thunder. When he struck the sky in pain and sorrow, bright cracks of light appeared. They became lightning. Tunkut Langit never stopped looking for Aluncina. Even now he still hopes she will return. The rain reminds us of his tears. The thunder echoes his voice. The lightning shows his longing. And so, whenever the sky darkens and the storm begins, people remember this story. A tale about love, trust, and the sadness that comes when we fail to understand those we care about most. Why mosquito buzzes? One bright morning in the jungle, a mosquito flew from place to place, eager to talk. He buzzed past a tall iguana and whispered a silly story he just made up. The iguana did not believe him, but the words made her uneasy. She shook her head, covered her ears, and walked away, not wanting to hear another sound. The iguana's silence worried the python, who wondered why her friend would not answer. The python slid away to hide. When the python disappeared, the rabbit grew frightened and ran into the forest. The crow saw the rabbit run and flew off to warn the others. Soon the jungle felt strange and quiet. Animals stopped talking, birds stopped singing, even the wind seemed to pause. High in a tree, a mother owl searched for her baby. When she could not find him, she cried out in sorrow. The wise lion, king of the jungle, heard the owl's cries and called all the animals together. One by one they explained what happened. At last they discovered how the trouble began, with the mosquito's careless words. The mosquito realized what he had done. He felt ashamed and afraid. He tried to speak, but no one wanted to listen. Overcome with guilt, the mosquito flew away and hid. The owl's baby was finally found, safe and sound, and the jungle slowly returned to normal. Sounds came back, laughter returned, life went on. But the mosquito never forgot his mistake. From that day on, he no longer spoke to the animals. Instead, he flew quietly around people, whispering his apology again and again. That is why when a mosquito flies near your ear, it does not speak. It only buzzes. Bzzz. The Legend of Mount Makiling. Long ago, before tall cities and busy roads, there stood a beautiful mountain covered in green forests and shining flowers. The people who lived nearby believed the mountain was alive because it was protected by a gentle guardian named Makiling. Makiling was a devata, a magical spirit of nature. She lived deep inside the mountain where the trees whispered secrets and the rivers sang softly. She had long dark hair, kind eyes, and a voice as calm as the wind at sunrise. She watched over the land, the animals, and the people who cared for the forest. Whenever farmers were hungry, Maria left baskets of rice, fruits, and vegetables at the edge of the village. When hunters got lost, she guided them safely home. The mountain was always green and the rivers never ran dry because Maria protected them all. But Maria had one rule: people must respect nature. They must not take more than they needed or harm the forest without reason. For a long time the villagers followed this rule, thanked the mountain, and lived in harmony with nature. Mount Makiling was peaceful and full of life. One day a young man from the village met Maria Makiling in the forest. He was charmed by her kindness and beauty and soon fell in love with her. Maria returned his feelings but remained cautious, knowing that people sometimes forget their promises. The young man promised to protect the mountain and the forest, but over time he changed. Instead of caring for nature, he began dreaming of wealth and a comfortable life, forgetting his words. When Maria realized this, sadness filled her heart. She saw trees being cut down, the forest growing quiet, animals disappearing, and rivers flowing more slowly. One morning, Maria disappeared. The villagers searched for her in the forest and called her name, but no one answered. The mountain grew quiet. Soon they noticed something strange. When clouds wrapped around Mount Makiling, the shape of a woman could be seen resting along its slopes. People believed that Maria had not only truly gone, she had become the mountain itself, watching in silence and waiting for people to learn respect for nature once more. Even today it is said that when nature is treated with care, the mountain shines, and when the land is harmed, it hides behind mist, reminding everyone of the guardian who once walked among them. This is why the legend is still told to children, to remind them that nature sees and remembers how it is treated. The Moth and the Flame. Once upon a time, in a quiet garden under the glow of the moon, there lived a small moth named Luma. Her little wings were delicate and shimmered softly in the silver light of the night sky. She was very curious and full of life, fluttering from flower to flower, smelling the sweet scents, and exploring all the secrets of the garden after dark. Every night Luma explored hidden corners of the garden, admired tiny drops of dew sparkling on the leaves, and watching the dancing fireflies flicker in the air. One evening Luma saw a tiny flicker of light dancing in the darkness. It was a flame warm and golden, glowing from a lantern by the garden gate. Luma was fascinated. "How beautiful you are!" she whispered as she hovered closer. The flame flickered happily, but it warned her softly. "Little moth, I am bright, but I can burn you. Please stay a little farther away." Luma hesitated. She wanted to see the light more closely, to feel its warmth. She danced toward it, spinning around in the glow. The flame flickered nervously. "Careful, little one!" But Luma could not resist. She swooped too near and ouch! Her wings brushed the heat. She quickly darted away, a little signed by still safe. She landed on a cool leaf, shaking her wings. "I see now," Luma said, "that even the most beautiful things must be treated with care." She smiled at the flame from a safe distance. "I can enjoy your glow without touching you." The flame glowed softly, proud of Luma's wisdom. From that night on, Luma learned to admire the bright light safely. She danced in the moonlight, watched the stars, and still visited the flame, always careful, always happy. And in the quiet garden, the flame and the little moth became friends, teaching all the night creatures that beauty is best enjoyed with respect and caution. The Sun and the Moon. Long ago, when the sky was empty and the world was just beginning to form, the sun and the moon lived together. They were siblings who loved each other very much and spent every day together, watching the world take shape. Unfortunately, they could not shine at the same time, because it would disturb the lives of people and animals below. The sun was bright and warm. Every morning it rose slowly, painting the sky in gold and orange. Its light spread across the land, waking flowers, birds, and all living creatures. Trees shimmered, rivers sparkled, and the world came alive under its rays. People and animals loved the sun, but it grew tired after shining all day and longed for rest. The moon was calm and gentle. She preferred the quiet night, silver light, and twinkling stars. When she rose, the world slowed down. Flowers closed their petals, children slept soundly, and the animals rested in their cozy homes. The moon watched over everyone, keeping the night safe, peaceful, and filled with dreams. The sun and the moon wanted to shine together, but every time they tried, the light became too bright and hurt the eyes of those below. So they made a promise. The sun would shine during the day and the moon would shine at night, giving each of them a special time to care for the world. From that day on, they took turns lighting the sky. Sometimes, when the clouds were just right or the horizon glowed with soft colors, people could see them at the same time, a small magical moment when the sun and the moon smiled at each other across the sky. And that is why the sun rules the day and the moon rules the night, each one watching over the world in their own special way. Lazy Juan. Juan was a young boy who loved to take things slowly. While other children ran, jumped, and played, Juan preferred to lie under the shade of a big tree and watch the clouds drift across the sky. He hummed softly, smiled, and sometimes even fell asleep, dreaming of adventures he didn't have to chase. One morning Juan's mother asked him to fetch some mangoes from the tree in the yard. "Juan, please climb the tree and bring me some mangoes," she said. Juan scratched his head, yawned, and stretched. "I'll do it later," he said, and returned to lying under the tree, enjoying the warm sun on his face. As the day went on, the mangoes ripened and began to fall from the tree one by one. Juan opened his eyes just in time to see a big golden mango land right next to him. "Oh," he said, picking it up, "I didn't even have to climb the tree." He smiled and bit into the juicy fruit, satisfied that his patience had worked in his favor. From that day on, Juan became well known in his village for finding clever ways to do things slowly and wisely. People often shook their heads and laughed at his laziness, but Juan didn't mind. Always had a happy smile on his face, showing that sometimes taking your time and being clever can bring sweet rewards, just like the mangoes. The Buffalo and the Shell. In a wide green field near a quiet village lived a strong buffalo named Bato. He was big, powerful, and very proud of his strength. When Bato walked, the ground trembled beneath his heavy hoofs, and other animals often stepped aside to give him space. Bato believed that being the strongest meant he was always right. One warm afternoon, while resting near a peaceful pond, Bato noticed something small in the grass. It was a simple shell, pale and smooth, lying quietly in the sunlight and barely moving in the gentle breeze. Bato laughed loudly. "Ho, ho, ho! You are so tiny," he said, shaking his head. "What could you possibly do?" The shell did not answer. It stayed still, calm and patient, as if listening. Feeling curious and a little proud, Bato said, "Let's see who is stronger. I will step on you and you will truly break." The shell did not move. It rested firmly on the ground, silent and steady. Bato lifted his heavy leg and pressed down with all his strength. He pushed harder and harder, snorting with effort. But the shell did not crack or crumble. Instead, it pressed into Bato's hoof, sharp and unyielding, making him cry out in sudden pain. Startled and embarrassed, Bato jumped back. He shook his leg and stared at the shell in disbelief. He had never imagined that something so small and quiet could stand up to his great power. Slowly, Bato lowered his head. "I was wrong," he said in a softer voice. "Strength is not only about size or force." The shell remained silent, but its quiet strength had already taught an important lesson. From that day on, Bato treated everyone with respect, whether they were big or small, and the villagers remembered the story, knowing that true strength can be found even in the smallest and quietest things. The Legend of the Gumamela. Long ago, in a small sun-drenched village, there lived a kind young girl named Mila. She loved to run barefoot through the fields, picking flowers for her mother and friends. Every day she sang softly as she played, her laughter carrying on the wind. But Mila was always very curious. She often wandered far from home, exploring the forests and rivers around her village. One morning she found something strange, glowing seed lying on the path. It sparkled like the sun and whispered her name softly. Mila picked it up, her eyes wide with wonder. Mila planted the glowing seed in her garden, hoping it would grow into something beautiful. She watered it every day and sang to it, just as she did to her other flowers. Soon a tiny sprout appeared, growing faster than any plant she had ever seen. Its leaves were soft and its colors seemed to shimmer with the sunlight. But as the plant grew, Mila noticed something magical. Whenever she laughed or sang, the little sprout's petals opened wider, and when she felt sad, the petals drooped. The plant seemed to mirror her feelings. One afternoon, a harsh wind blew through the village. It bent trees and scattered the flowers. Mila rushed to protect her magical plant. "I won't let anything hurt you," she cried. She wrapped her hands around the stem, as suddenly the petals glowed brighter than ever. A soft warm light spread across the garden and the wind calmed. Mila realized that the seed was no ordinary plant. It had the power of heart, reflecting kindness, love, and care. The village marveled at the colorful, glowing flower that seemed to shine with Mila's own joy. From that day on, the magical flower became known as the Gumamela, a flower that reminded everyone of the power of love and kindness. Whenever someone felt happy, the Gumamela's petals would open wide and bright. Whenever someone felt sad, its petals seemed to comfort them just like a friend. And so children in the village would often sing and play around the Gumamela, knowing that a loving heart could make the world bloom just like Mila's magical flower.